coworker's husband's sister, but she's like 19 years older than her brother. But she owns a house in Carolina, and she has season tickets to um, the Hurricane. And she said if we came and stayed with her, that she'd let us go to the game. So,
Nice.
yeah.
All right. I had the Matt Riegler guy. He, I guess it's like a internet group or whatever, like a Twitter group or something, but they're called like Section 328, and I guess they're big Hurricanes fans, and so like he and like 15 people went to the Hurricane season opener. So like I don't know, I guess a couple of them live in the Raleigh area, so like they all just like flew down there or drove down there, and they all like were drinking and at the game. He was sending me pictures. He's like, "Dude, you gotta come next year." I'm like, "Wow, that looks." I didn't actually realize that a tailgate in Carolina for hockey could be fun. But, all right, I am live, so we can get this shit going. Yeah, 7 games, 15K to first on DraftKings. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Morningscape Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by Doug Levy to go over the Tuesday slate. Wait, oh man, it is Tuesday. I think I wrote Thursday on the. Let me redo that. Let me just redo that.
Restart.
I literally on the Google Hangouts, I named it Thursday, just like not thinking.
You're a retard.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leave some more silence. Three, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Morningscape Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by Doug Levy to go over an exciting Tuesday slate. I only got 7 games, though, Doug. How you doing?
I am doing well, drowning in schoolwork. I didn't play tonight, but I heard that the Sabres lost, so it doesn't look like I missed anything. But Ovechkin didn't get 4 goals tonight, so I guess I missed out on not playing him and not being sad about it. Still a little hurt. How are you doing?
Well, life goes on. So here we are. We're missing DJ, so that's the old DJ adage: go home for the weekend, don't bring a microphone with you, because that's how professional DJ Mitchell is. So.
And then don't come back on Monday.
Yeah, because he literally he's in grad school and he has a job at a homeless kitchen, but somehow he gets Columbus Day off, because I guess neither of those two things matter when you're DJ. So
homeless people don't eat on Columbus Day.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to go there, but I did want to go there. So.
Whoops.
Indeed. So yeah, I think that just about covers it. I guess we can talk a little bit about our weekends. I know, Doug, you were lamenting on Saturday not playing Mr. Alex Ovechkin. I am in the same boat. So do you want to talk about your feelings watching him put up 4 goals on Saturday?
So the problem was I couldn't even watch because I was at a Canadian Thanksgiving, which I know is this weekend, but my Canadian friends wanted to have it this weekend or this past weekend. So I was sitting in the house trying to have a good time, drinking heavily. Well, Rachel tells everyone at the party that I'm addicted to DraftKings, and then I'm looking at my lineup just watching it tank. And then she's like, "Well, how are you doing today, Doug? How are you doing?" And then I have to show everybody at the party my lineup and tell them that I'm doing terrible and Ovechkin has 4 goals and I didn't play him because I was too busy jamming in Connor McZero points. So yeah, that was how my Saturday went down.
Yeah, you could say the McDavid overreaction was strong on my behalf. Obviously Ovechkin crazy good too. So if you overreacted and played Ovechkin, good on you. But definitely the longer term trends are very fun to keep an eye on, especially as we get 5 or 6 games into the season, because people are going to start saying, hey, look, there's a trend here, a trend there. And that's literally 4% of the season. So certainly time for stuff to change. And so that's kind of what we're going to try and bring to you, a more long-term view of how the daily fantasy slates are looking out. And then the short-term, immediate, lineup changes, injuries, stuff like that. But, when you see McDavid put up, 10 shot attempts in a night or whatever, you can kind of count on that not happening again. When Ovechkin does it, I mean, he has such a storied past of doing things like that. Maybe it's a bit more likely to happen again in the future. So, and if you're new to the show, the number one currency in daily fantasy hockey, in I think our collective opinion, is the shot attempt. So you always want your guys to be firing the puck, because that's how goals are scored, that's how assists are created. Sometimes tic-tac-toe pretty passing plays can, obviously they happen, but in the NHL, it's much more likely to see some garbage goals. You shoot the puck and it hits a defenseman. I know the Devils today one of their players scored a goal off of his forehead. So,
when in Buffalo.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, when facing Chad Johnson, just everything goes. I could have told the Sabres that. That was the least favorite part of the offseason for me, bringing back Chad Johnson, because he's atrocious. Anyways, I'm trying to think. I guess the last time we recorded was on Wednesday night. Thursday night, I almost took down a GPP, so that was much better. I had that Ovechkin hat trick, obviously, and a couple other things went right that aren't coming to me right now. But then the weekend was just a cluster. They were a clusterfuck. So
yeah, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, so let's get back into things on this Tuesday slate. So we are going to start at the center position, and I think when you look at this slate, I mean, it's only 7 games, which is...
Yeah, do you want me to go over the games that we've got?
Yeah, you go for it.
All right, so we've got the Blue Jackets at Carolina. We've got Chicago at Montreal on a road back-to-back. We've got Detroit at Dallas, Arizona at Vegas, which we'll talk about. Got St. Louis at New York on a road back-to-back. And then Philly at Nashville and Ottawa at Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those slates where nothing immediately jumps out at me. I would say Arizona against Las Vegas, but I mean, we just did this on Saturday, and Arizona put up one of the biggest stinkers imaginable.
Well, see, I think that's why we need to be so on it, because people are going to be off it. It's the classic 1-game sample size, and Vegas only has 2 games in their whole sample size ever. So, if there's a time to take advantage of the general population being stupid, it will be when the Arizona line 1, power play 1, that all plays together is 1% owned in GPPs or whatever, even though Vegas is giving up 3.7 expected goals against per 60, highest in the NHL by over 1/10 of a goal. So I think
even if you're going to go, hey, but you just said small sample size. Remember, this is an expansion team. Remember that they are currently not even employing 2 of their probably top 5 assets on the team in Shipachyov and Shea Theodore. They're both still in the AHL.
And who's the other one? They have a third young guy. I was reading. He's also scored a couple goals. Why can I not think of his name right now?
No, I can't think of
Alex Tuck.
Okay, Alex Tuck. Yeah,
just thought of it. He has at least a goal and a couple assists too. Yeah. They're both leading the team in points right now.
Yeah, Shea Theodore's been goading down there, but yeah. So I mean, they're a team totally bereft of talent. I think what they've done the first 2 games is really just a signal of what good goaltending can cover up for a team. But I mean, you just can't really predict that going forward. So
yeah, Fleury had 49 saves or 42 saves or something
like that. I think. And then even Subban came in and was, he was good. I think Arizona in general was just, they were just bad. But I mean, that's also, I think, a good reason to play Antti Ranta, because I think if you played Antti Ranta on Saturday, you got like 40-something saves, and, he didn't get the win, but I think
he was like my highest scoring player.
Exactly. So you should be able to expect them to pull out a W here. So, but yeah, we'll get to the other games as we touch on them. So
I think I was going to say, we were talking about how the currency of daily fantasy sports or daily fantasy hockey is Corsi, but I think expected goals like has its merits as well because it's derived based on shot attempts. Correct? I mean, it's shot attempts.
So for me, I look at expected goals on the team level and then try to drill it down to shot attempts on the individual level. I'm not sure if that's what you were implying or not.
Yeah, no, I look at expected goals down just because I like to see I know from now looking through the code that how it takes into account the danger of the angle and the distance of each shot attempt. It doesn't take into account missed shots because they're not recorded, but it does take into account block shots and shots that were on goal. So I don't know. I just like to see what.
I think you mean the other way around.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Not block, missed.
Yeah.
But I think the danger component to me is the thing that like kind of, I don't know, that kind of, it's like an extra thing I like to look at. Like if I see two people with similar iCourses, I can look at, especially now with small sample size, like which ones of them are generating more dangerous shots, because even though it's small sample size, it just means that the difference between them might be a little more pronounced, which kind of helps me. So I'm looking at that saying, okay, these guys both took a lot of shots or made a lot of shot attempts at least, but who's getting high danger chances? So it's not just even a bin system. It's really just like every shot they assign a dangerousness to. So I don't know. I think it's up there. I still look at that's an underrated stat that the general public isn't using yet.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. I think for me, I tend to look at things initially from a cash perspective. And for me, I just want the 0.5 every time. So someone like Wayne Simmons always shows up as a very strong individual expected goals player because he does a lot of dirty work in front of the net on the power play. And, when they're playing 5-on-5, he's generally camped out there too. So when he gets a shot, I mean, it's more likely that it goes in. So it's just, the distribution, I think, of it's kind of like in football where you take a guy with, a high target rate but a low ADOT or an average depth of target. So like guys who catch the ball really close to the line of scrimmage, you're not going to get a 50-yard, 60-yard bomb that's going to give you all the points, but you're just going to accrue. And so I think in like a GPP format, you're looking for the guy who's going to basically take the lid off the defense and do kind of what Wayne Simmons does or someone.
Yeah, you're not going to win a GPP by having 7 assists.
Well, I mean, you might.
Well, this is true.
Oh, you mean in a full lineup?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't win a GPP by chasing assists. I don't think like guys that aren't going to score goals generally aren't going to be good GPP plays. I guess is what I was trying to get around to. But
yeah,
all right. I think we've talked enough about our statistical preferences.
Yeah, that's some good theory talk there. So, I think I was in the middle of saying that. I mean, there's a lot of generally cheap players on this slate. I think that's kind of where I was going when I said there's not a whole lot of easy target spots on this slate. So I mean, the only two names that we have above 7,000 are Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko. We can get to them at the wing position, but as of right now, on road back-to-backs, Doug, do you think you'll be spending up on either Kane or Tarasenko tomorrow?
I don't think that I will be. I definitely don't think I want Kane. The road back-to-back against Montreal scares me. I don't know. Tarasenko has been explosive. I don't know. They've both been explosive, but I don't like to play guys in road back-to-backs like that. It'll be slow. Since they're on the road, I don't think they're going to be able to control the tempo as much. It's not going to be something that I'm going to be looking for. I think that there's enough mid-range and cheap guys that are, that's what I'm trying to say. There's not a ton of reason to pick them.
It's very interesting because, I mean, obviously we know the expected salary per player in your line, or whatever average salary per player in your lineup is 55 on DraftKings. And if you plug in, 7-9 goalie, let's just go Craig Anderson, you're looking at above 5,000 per player. And with no one really in play above 7,000, you are really going to be loading up on the mid-range on this slate. So, I think I will get us started. So I'm looking at the upper tier of center. I think Sagan's in a class of his own. I mean, he's only 7,000. It's been a couple games, and Sagan has done most of his damage on the power play, which is a bit, I guess, not unnerving, but it would be nice to see him put up a few more shots at 5-on-5. I'm not sure, Doug, do you have Corsica loaded, or is it just crashing on you over and over and over again?
It is crashing. Are you talking about Sagan, though?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, he's, let's see. Oh, no, I don't have it written down. I had some stats for him, but I don't have his Corsi written down. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to go game log hunting, but on DraftKings, as you might be able to see, they don't have the current season game logs up yet. So
he's averaging 9.5 shots per game this season over 2 games. So
right, yeah, and I want to say that despite that, insane shot rate, I think he had 2 shots at 5-on-5 and 7 on the power play the other night. So it's not like he's not going to shoot the puck on the power play. But you have to take into account what happens if Detroit, who generally plays a relatively slower game, what happens if they only take 1 or 2 penalties? Like, what happens to Sagan then? Regardless, I think he's easily the top center play, and I think you'll kind of have to see how your lineup fits. But he's definitely workable, and I don't see myself playing anyone else above 6K here besides Sagan. Do you have any interest in someone like Taze or Zibanejad? Anyone above 6K?
No, not really. Sagan was definitely going to be the guy that is going to be the guy I'm targeting. I think I'm definitely going to have in my lineup. I mean, you mentioned Detroit playing a little slower, but I think that in terms of the goals against per 60 and stuff that they've been giving up, at least this year so far, they've been pretty generous. So the game might not be fast, but I think that Sagan will get the chances. I'm not really concerned about that. Detroit's just such a bad team, other than Martin Frick. Martin Frick.
Freaking goat.
Yeah, he's the freaking goat. First NHL player to score a goal without a vowel in his name. It really was just weighing him down. So he got rid of him, and that's how he scored. But, yeah, no, that's really the only high-price center. The guy that I'm looking at in the mid-tier, I'll just bring it down there. I think that Marchessault, Marchagoat, as DJ would say, is who I'm going to be looking at. He's a 4.6 on DraftKings. Although Vegas has been struggling in terms of how much they've been giving up, Marchessault's really been carrying the team in terms of Corsi chances and Corsi for percentage when he's out there. So although they're being dominated, he's getting 53% of the Corsi chances while he's out there. And he has his individual Corsi 4 per 60 is 22, and that's pretty inflated because they've only played 2 games. But he is shooting the puck a decent amount, and he's I think it's going to be a wide open game. And in their first game, I have his line had 25 score adjusted shots for. So that was the best on Vegas in the game in which they won. So in overtime. So I really like him there. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the only thought I have currently is that you might want to. Well, I think Fantasy Labs just got that one wrong. He's listed at wing on DraftKings.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's really the only. I mean, it's not a big issue. Obviously, we can touch on it. But yeah, I mean, last year he was it wasn't necessarily that he was the world's greatest player, but he was so reliable on a night-to-night basis, and he's gonna play a very heavy role on that first line with Smith and Oscar Lindberg, and he's gonna be featured on the power play as well. So he has a solid shooting floor, and I think the matchup is fine for him. So definitely no problems there. But yeah, when while Fantasy Labs leads you astray with your positioning, Tisk Fantasy Labs.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around. I actually before we got on, I was checking to make sure all my wings actually played wing because Fantasy Labs is terrible about wings
Yeah.
being labeled as or centers being labeled as wings. So they bamboozled me anyway.
Yeah, I think a bit of news that Nick Schmaltz missed tonight's game on Monday night with some sort of injury. Okay, he has an upper body injury and he is out for Tuesday as well. So with him out, we saw Anisimov, center, Kane, and Hartman. I don't love the price on Anisimov at 5.2. Hartman's up above 5K as well, but definitely keep that in mind if you're looking to stack Chicago, as Duncan Keith in that line definitely won't break the bank, especially on the slate. So just keep in mind the correlation with Anisimov. That's a bit different from Schmaltz centering him to begin the year. So for players who are actually at the center position and around the 5K mark, I mean, Jordan Stahl is centering Elias Lindholm and Sebastian Aho. And if you listened to the division previews that we did earlier in the year, I mean, I made the case for Elias Lindholm being like a breakout potential player this year. And I kind of made the argument to why he actually kind of already broke out last year, but just had some of the worst luck in the league in sort of capitalizing on that in terms of just goals and assists. So that line in general is an awesome target, especially against a Columbus team that is no stranger to pushing the pace. I think Columbus is pretty good as well. But this first line, Jordan Stahl has been a possession monster his whole career, essentially, and the two weapons that he has alongside of him really excite me. So I think he's my top play in the mid-tier here. Do you have anyone else in the the kind of the middle area, or do you just want to go cheaper?
I mean, besides Nick Foligno, does Nick Foligno?
Yeah. So I guess the lines for Columbus, Foligno is going to be centering, which is interesting because Nick Foligno's not a center, silly. But no, he's going to be centering Panarin and Atkinson, and he's on the first power play. So yeah, can definitely see that play. Do you have any other numbers?
I really like that Carolina stack, and we were talking before the show about this new stacking system that's going to be coming to the morningscapepod.com website shortly, exclusively free on the website. The stacking algorithm that I wrote really likes Carolina line 1 and power play 1 tomorrow night, and Lindholm and Volk I think are the reason why, but honestly I could play any of them. I was going to say at the end when we were wrapping up, just lines that I liked, and that's definitely one. So yeah, I really like that take on Stahl there. I just think that's a really good position for him. So yeah, and it's not going to, I think it's going to be a pretty wide open game. Is Bobrovsky playing for, I'm assuming they didn't play. They played back to back Friday, Saturday. So Bobrovsky will probably play.